The alarm we're looking at is one of the common ones that you see on eBay. Wi-Fi, GSM, and it all operates on the 433 megahertz range for sensors, which aren't inherently that secure, but for a basic security system and for about £40 this is what you get. So it's the WellyNK system. Now the reason why I chose this one in particular is, as you can see, none of the connections are on the side. Now there's other similar units which seem to have their power and other connections on the side, which I don't like. It's not very neat. So if you're going to attach it to a wall, it's very difficult to make it neat and tidy. So on the back of this one, you can see, first of all, you've got a mounting bracket, which has a security switch in it as well. So if it's removed from the wall, it sets the alarm off. And you'll see behind the cover, this is where we have our various settings. So at the top left, we've got our SIM card. Down here are for our wired zones. We have 3 wired zones. I'll come on to those later. Down here is our little 5-volt input, and up here we've got our on-off switch for the internal battery and the siren output. Now the DC 5 volts is a standard micro USB, so it's standard. You don't actually get a power supply in the box. Let's take out everything else that's in the box. So we've got our end of line resistors for our wired zones. We've got our tiny little sounder, which is just for indoor use really, with the pin plug there. What else do we have? We have 2 remote controls. Again, these are pretty standard, so they come with all sorts, garage door openers, that kind of thing. We have 2 RFID tags, which I quite like this idea of using RFID for them. We have the USB power cable. So like I say, it's a standard micro USB to USB, so there's no power supply in this box, so you're going to have to power it yourself somehow. So that may be tricky when it comes to mounting it on a wall. I'll show you what I'm going to do for that. That's for our wired inputs. We've got screws, mounting bracket. We have 2 door or window switches, which are like this. I'll take that apart shortly and show you inside the battery. So what you've got is a tamper switch on the back and an on-off switch. And in this pack we have one very small, thin infrared motion sensor, and that's it really. Oh, and instruction manual, but as usual the instruction manual not that useful. It's intuitive enough, you don't really need that. So what I'll do is we'll take a little look at what's inside the sensors. Let's have a look inside. So these are door and window sensors. So we'll just pop the cover off. And then you can see it uses a button cell battery. There's the 433 chip. So it's pretty simple inside. Just taking a bit of a closer look on it. The battery inside it. CR2450. And there's no user settable switches. Sometimes there's dip switches on these that let you set the code, so it looks like there isn't a unique code or anything like that on them. See, it's 2018 revision 1.4, but that's about it. Very simple in design. Just pushes, clips back into the casing like that. And the top, let's just be careful not to damage the switch or the little tamper switch. And there we go, that's that back together. Should be a bracket for that in here somewhere. And then there's also the magnet for it. I didn't check which side the reed switch was on, but we'll have a look at that later. Onto the infrared sensor, the room sensor. Just unclips at the bottom, which is quite tight, this. Actually, it feels like it's clipped together elsewhere. Let me just pause so I don't break it. As you can see, there's a little clip on either side, so a screwdriver just push into there just so you don't snap it. And there we go, the inside. I'm pleased to see AAA batteries, so it's a standard. You can actually see on this one, you do have the programmable code setting and this other setting. I'm going to look in the manual, see if there's any instructions on these. I suspect there won't be, though. There normally isn't very much information about how these work, but it did come with the AAA batteries already in, which is quite a nice add-on. So that's the inside of the infrared room sensor. That's the USB plugged in. So let's power it on for the first time and see what it does. Pretty straightforward, so we just need to go into the settings and set it all up now. Just going to quickly run through a few of the settings. So to get into the settings menu, when it's disarmed, just hit that button and you can see, just click your way through like this to go through the various settings. It's fairly self-explanatory, no touch screen or anything like that on this version, but you can see it's relatively straightforward on programming it, adding it to your Wi-Fi, etc. So I've now programmed in the majority of settings, switched off the keypad, button beep sounds, added date and time, things like that. Now one thing is, you can attach this to your Wi-Fi as well. What you do is you install an app. Now it does just say Android App Store, so I don't know whether this is Apple iPhone compatible. Probably not, looking at this, but I'm going to install the app and take a look and see what the Wi-Fi part of it looks like, see if it's any good or whether it's going to be any use or not. Now don't forget, remember, go into the settings and change the default PIN codes for this. They're normally 4 digits, and you've got a system PIN code for settings and things like that, and you've got user, which is for arming and disarming the system. So set both of those up so you know what they are from the start. You can see the little lock icons just appeared. That's because I set it so that after a timed amount the keypad locks and you need to put in the password. So in theory, see, so it now needs the password for me to do anything or to go into the system or look at any settings, but this is still whilst the system is disarmed. So let's take a look at the Android app and see if it's any good. Looking at the Android app, it's the Easy Security app. It installs fairly straightforward. To set it up, you do WellyNK configure, and then you go onto the unit itself and you choose WellyNK configure. You've then got a timed amount before you can then make the changes, and it joins it up to your Wi-Fi. Remember, only 2.4 gig, it won't do 5 gig. Once that's all set up, it paired up really easily. I had to sign out and back in on the Android app. Don't know if that's normal or not, but it seemed straightforward. And you can see a nice straightforward arm disarm buttons. And actually you can go into the settings and you can look and configure the majority of config for the alarm as well, which is a nice touch. So rather than using the keypad and the alarm unit itself, you can use the app. So all in all, it doesn't look too bad. There are a couple of comments that the app does drain Android batteries, so I'll give it a go, see how long, and I'll add some extra comments down the bottom. If you have had experience yourself, do pop a comment down the bottom of the screen, and remember to subscribe, and I'll give an update on this after we've had it up and running for a while in the house. So I think the next thing to do is get it fitted, get it up and running, and we'll see how we get on. Oh, one other thing as well. This uses 433 megahertz transmitters for the remote sensors, the little door switches and things. So I'm going to try, I've already got some from my previous alarm. I'm going to see if those will pair with this system. And if that's the case, then that will save me having to refit quite a lot of sensors, things like that. So I'll let you know how I get on. And there we have it installed. You can see the old alarm was a little bit bigger, so I need to fix the wall. But other than that, it's all installed, set up and working. Now a function I'm going to show you which is quite useful, which is learning sensor codes, which are quite handy to work out if you've already programmed a sensor or whether it's programmed, that kind of thing. So I'll show you how to do that. Hopefully you can see the screen okay. If we go into parts, go all the way to the bottom, there's this decoder. And if I choose that, when that goes green, that's receiving a signal from one of the remote sensors. So that's quite good because you can look at the code and you can compare that. So if I go into one of my detectors and go to edit, not sure if you can make that out, but you can just see, there we go, the window alarm. You can see the code there. That's the code you would have seen, and so you can tie up and work out if you've got everything programmed. But otherwise, I think it's quite a reasonable alarm system. Now I have had a problem trying to pair an external siren with it, so I need to find out why that's not working, but otherwise not too bad. Another gotcha is the output for the siren. Now most alarm systems use between 10 to 12 volts. Well, this, because it's only powered by a 5-volt USB adapter, means its alarm output is also 5 volts. So you need to find a 5-volt siren to be able to run it externally. So that's the only thing to be slightly aware of. You can see the keypad just locked there on the timer. And you also need low current, so things like external 12-volt relays, things like that for external alarm boxes won't work. You need to be a little bit more creative. Hopefully I'll be able to find some of that, and I might post it as an update in the comments section below. And there we have it, the WellyNK home alarm system, wireless home alarm system. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope it's been of use to you and showed you about the features on this rather cheap alarm system, but quite functional as well. So do let me know what you think in the comments section, subscribe and give me a like, and I'll see you in the next video.